Hey everybody, Jo here again. Thanks so much for popping in today. Now, I did a video last week using some geometric shapes, and I showed you this as just an example, and one of our lovely friends and follower, Anne, just popped a comment saying this rather struck a chord with her and she'd like to know how to create it. So what I thought is I'd make a different one and just give you almost like a summary option. Again, I like to give you lots of choices. So I thought we'd make this one. It's exactly the same technique, but just different flowers, different colours. But that's the beauty of this sort of design. You can create whatever sort of atmosphere and colours you wish. So I'm going to pop these over here. So thanks for your comment, Anne. It's always lovely to read your comments. And we're going to start with a piece of multifarious card, and it's 5.5 inches by 3.5. And I'm going to come on with some Lavinia low tack tape, and I know it's Lavinia because I always write in here. Now, if you're worried, our low tack tape is very low tack, but if you're worried it's a bit tacky, just maybe put it on your clothing or on your mat just to make it a bit less tacky. Now, we're going to go one corner to another. Now, you can, if you wish, draw yourself the middle of the tape, but I tend to do it just by eye. So I just sort of put the middle in that corner there. That looks roughly right to me. And that there. But I know some of you'll want to do it exactly, in which case just draw a pencil line on your tape where the centre is. Mine are sort of handcrafted cards, so they have that edge. But you can do it precisely if you want. I'm trying to be a bit more, handcrafted. And really, the first thing to do is think of your colour tones. And what I did was I got a selection of my stamps ready, and also I chose some colours. So for my ink pads, I've gone in my Versafine Clair for sort of some pinks, a little bit of the purple and some greens. And I often find that helps before we start. And I'm going to start with one of my favourite stamps, and this is from the group Poppies. Now, I also want a piece of extra copy paper, which you'll see why in a moment. And I decided to do this in the Shady Lane, or Shady Lady as she's known. Now, what I want to be mindful of here, I'm going to stamp this here, but the stem may just come here. And that's where this copy of paper is going to come in useful. So I'm going to sort of stamp that where, just to almost give me a point here. And everything I do on this side, I find it easier to do it at the same time and on the other side. You can, if you want, complete one side first. I mean, like I've told you before, it's whatever suits you, whichever way you want to work. For me, I find it easier to do it this way. But that's just for me with putting my stamps on and off my blocks. So there's the lovely buds with this stamp as well. So I'm going to keep the same colour and stamp 2 of these. So I'm sort of going for this sort of shape. So it looks like we've got a nice clump. I love poppies. Told you before, my favourite is the Mechanopsis poppy, and thank you to the lady who gave me some advice on Mechanopsis poppies as well. It was lovely to read your comments. I knew some friends in Woodford, and he had an orchard at the bottom of his garden, and he had one plant there, and it obviously just loved the conditions, and each year more and more came up. He did give me some, and I tried them in my garden. We went from seeds to young plants to established plants, but no, if they don't like the conditions, they just don't like it, and I just have to get used to that. But I do love them. So what I'm thinking now, we want a little bit more shape. So I'm going to come in with this lovely stamp, and this is off the Vine set. And I'm going to come in with the avocado, and it's just building up the design. So I'm thinking we can have a little bit of that there, a little bit here. And, in all honesty, no 2 of these will ever be the same, because you'll just even when I do two straight after one another, even if you batch card making, I love the fact that you can just make them, you know, slightly different. To be fair, that's my excuse, because I can never seem to make two the same. I almost get a bit bored and I wander off. I go a bit off-piste and add bits, you know. Even these two sides won't be the same. So if I look at it, and sometimes I've got to be honest, I don't know about you, it sort of messes with my head looking at, because you can see all this. So I tend to concentrate on just one side. So if we look at this, and I'm thinking, I like that green shape, but let's get some colour in here now. So we'll come in with this, and I think this is off the Vine set as well. It has two flowers, and this is the smaller one. And we're going to come in with a charming pink. I thought it matched my nail varnish, so I thought we'd go pink. I'm thinking some nice sort of, more sort of hot, summery colours. Cheer us all up. So we'll have one of these here. And then we'll have one over here. And let's have one up here. And then turn it over. And then we'll go for one here, one here, and I think we'll put this one up here. And in the same colour, I'm going to go for, and I've lost it, I've got, oh, here it is, this lovely little stamp, and this is off the foliage set. And as you know, I love the sort of, it's almost twiggy, but it's got the little flowers at the end. And I'm thinking it'll bring a little bit of pink into the design. So we get a bit more of the pink, but it won't sort of take over. Such a useful little stamp, this. And you can stamp it on top of the foliage, and it looks like that pink's come from the foliage. Yes. So we'll turn it round and add some. I hope I don't make you dizzy, all this constantly turning things around. Now, obviously, you can choose any colours. I mean, what's your sort of favourite colour tones? I know a lot of you like blues, and I thought for once, do you know what, it would be nice not to use blue. We almost get in a rut, don't we, if we use the same colour. So I want a little bit of something in the background. So let's come in with the Wild Summer Flowers. And this is a smaller one. There's the two stamps. And we're just going to ink up the top part. And we're coming in with Lilac Bloom to just give another colour tone. And we're going to put one here. And again, this is just going to be something in the background and just almost keep to that shape and fill in the space without being too much. You see how that just adds to it? And as I say, don't worry. It will all, you will stop before you get that proverbial pizza. And I think when you keep the colour tones to a minimum, that really helps. So we're just going to add this one here. But you need a little bit of something in the background. Pop this one here. And then the last little bit of stamping is just something that we're going to do to keep the shape. So we're coming in with this one off the Flower Collection, and we're coming in with a pale colour, our palest of all the colours, and this is Baby Pink. And this is just any areas where you think you need a little bit more stamping. And what I can do, look, we turn this. Now put that there, so that's obviously, it's going to be clean here, so that will help. You see how instantly it doesn't look as busy. Now I just want to see if there's anywhere, and I just want to have a little bit more shape round here. So what I'm thinking is, if I just ink up the top and just stamp a little bit there, just to get that shape. So I'm just inking up the top. And just here where we've got a little bit of the white. So I'm just filling in any areas that I just want a little bit more stamping. So here, there, and that looks fuller to me. I'm happy with that. I hope that makes sense. I'm going to turn this round, do the same again. So when I look, the same thing here, just a little bit up here, and then just to fill in that space, a little bit here. I don't want to overcook it. In fact, I'm going to leave that. I think I'm happy with that. So I'm going to give that a blot. And then I just want to take almost the whiteness of the card off. See, if we take the tape off, almost that edge looks a bit strange. So we're going to add a little bit of colour, and we're going to come in with an Element ink, and this is the confetti. And as always, I'm just going to blend that, and just going to come in here and just add a gorgeous bit of, and it's amazing the difference. As I say, it'll make the panel really stand out, but also so choose a colour that sort of adds with the whole tone. So we're just going and just slightly at the top, there we go. That's why it's important to blot, because I don't want my Versafine Clair to smudge. And I'm just sort of going round the poppy, but we're going to add a little bit of colour to the poppy in a minute anyway. So just make sure I've got that lovely edge down here. Making sure I always blend on the lid. I don't want to come in with too much colour and spoil it. Yeah, that looks good to me. So to colour, just going to lean on here. To colour our lovely poppy head, I've got out of my Mondeluz Pencils. I'm going for 170 and 132. And I'm just going to come in with the darker colour and just add that colour at the base, and then also behind here, just for a bit of contrast. And then with my lighter colour, and again I'm just going to blend in with that darker colour. And then with my Clear Wink of Stella, I'll just do a little bit of wink of colour in, and I just take it to the edge there, down. So I start with the light and then go down and blend that darker colour. And I'll just turn it round. And again, I'm going to lean on that here, just so that I hopefully don't smudge it. Now, you see, I could have done this in blues and done my Mechanopsis. In fact, I might make another one of these and do blues and purples, and that way I could colour the Mechanopsis, couldn't I? I mean, I'm sure when you look, it's a good time to look at your stamps. Just clean that and look. I bet you've got so many florals, and it's great to use the foliage stamps as well for this. So, little bit of white, and we'll just go over those highlights there, and just on the heads, a little bit on the flowers, just a couple on the leaves. Just the little finishing touches that make all the difference. And again, you can wait till your Wink of Stella's dry. It'll show up better. I know you don't want to, I mean, if you were waiting here, we'd have to go and have a brew together. And I've got some nice cake in, some gluten-free cake if you fancy. And then before we take the tape off, just want to add a little bit of our lovely Stickles Glitter glue. And today I'm going to use Stardust. And what I'm going to do is, as you know, it can have a bit of wind mine. It's just, I don't know. So I'm just going to put a little bit here and a little bit here. Put the lid on, and I've got an old Wink of Stella, and I'm just going to dab. So I'm going to move this, and just this way I'm going to paint in the lovely glitter glue exactly where I want it. And I don't want it on too much, just want a nice light coating. And for me, this works well. If you're happy, just pop in yours direct from the tube, you do that. Mine always seems to spit at my work, and it comes out too thick. But that could possibly just be me. There's lots of different ways of using it. And we all find our way, don't we? This is just the way that works well for me. I'm just going to spread it around and just dot it exactly where I want it. And I've avoided my poppy heads. Now, the low-tack Lavinia tape does peel off beautifully, but just to make sure, I'm just going to come in with my heat tool and give it a bit of a waft. And that way, it just means that it will peel off. Look at that, absolutely. Look at that. It's worth doing just to ensure that it does. Now, it might be you want this as an emergency topper, and I think these would be great. Make a selection. You know, if Mr. Mojo's gone, and I know a couple have messaged and said it has, why don't you make one in blue tones, one in the pinks? You know, alter the stamping. Maybe a vintage one in browns with just using foliage. Or why don't you do a selection of spring, summer, autumn, winter? And leave them blank, ready to put a sentiment. I'm going to use birthday wishes, and this is coming from the heartfelt verses, because I'm thinking this is going to be great for an emergency birthday card. Now, on my original here, because I'd used yellows and greens, I stamped in yellow and green. But what I've done on the one here, I decided that because I've mainly used pink and green, I would do the combination of the pink and green. Now, it's up to you. You can stamp it in just one colour if you wish. But I'm going for the charming pink, and I'm just going to ink up the whole sentiment in that. And then with the shady lane, I'm just going to catch, and I'm just going to use the top of my ink pad and just catch the base. And don't worry, my shady lane will be fine. And then I'm just going to come in and put birthday wishes. And I just love the fact it's in the two-tone. Now, don't forget, if you want to add any of our beautiful butterflies, if you want to add some gems, some liquid pearls. But for me, that's just a beautiful design. And as I say, you can mix it up so much and alter it. So I hope you've enjoyed that. And I hope you have a play at this diagonal twist on a panel card. I think we'll just call it diagonal panel. How about that? So enjoy your play. Have a lovely weekend when it arrives. You take care. Love and hugs from me. Bye for now.